What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Start of a new week. We are, how many days until us? A week today. 7 days until our Premier League season starts. It's actually the end of the week. Friday, the Premier League season starts for everyone else, but for us, a week today. But in that period of time, still plenty of possible business to be done, plenty of transfer stories to discuss, plenty of exits, maybe, just maybe. There's so much to get into. Marcel, how are you doing, though? Start of a new week. Are you feeling fresh? You were just telling me that you've been playing football over the weekend. How did it go? How are you feeling?
I'm good, thank you, Owen. Like you said, start of the football season for us is in 7 days. That's when the Premier League really starts for us. 7 days, obviously, the big game against Wolves. And yeah, man, 4-2, I played a match in the midfield, Owen. I haven't played in the midfield. I thought to myself I was going to play in the 10 or out wide or something. You know, out wide, I feel like it's less running.
Marcel 10 or 11, you know?
Yeah.
Now,
but
10, 11 or 8.
No, but it's like there's no 10. They played a 4-4-2. Like, was against the
old
three.
school.
Old school. We was against the three in midfield. Had to negotiate who we go to when we press the other free player. It was really good. Like, it was a lot for me to do it in my first game in a long while. But 4-2 win, man. I'm happy.
Engine. That's what it is. A lot of people asking, by the way, what's going on, because United have just posted a thing saying something is coming. It was like that Barcelona journalist that basically said things are happening. Things are happening. I think it's to do with the third kit, but it's a picture of Roy Keane standing at Old Trafford, coming out of the shadows and into the light, which is a pretty good metaphor, I think. But obviously, if it's anything more than that, we'll let you know. But it's an Adidas thing. So that's what that is. And we were just chatting, actually. The third kit does actually look quite nice. So I think that's going to come later on. Oh, it's coming tomorrow, they said. So, yeah, that's the latest what that is. If people are wondering, is Roy Keane coming back? What's going on with Roy Keane? I think it's the third kit. But big up everyone in the chat. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. What we're going to talk about this morning? Wow, we're going to be talking about centre-back options. Todibo, Marcel. Oh, yes, this one could be actually happening. Depends on Harry Maguire. We're going to be chatting about that. Rasmus Hojlund, his squad number has possibly been revealed. He doesn't have one right now. And the reason is because he's waiting for someone to leave, that being possibly Fred. An update on Fred and Donny van der Beek's exits from United. Anthony Martial. Is there a possibility that Martial could be headed to West Ham, of all places? Oh, yeah. We're going to be chatting about that. Scott McTominay, he's been linked to West Ham, but he's also been linked with a Jose Mourinho reunion at Roma. So plenty to get into this morning. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As I mentioned, let's start off with Todibo, because a lot of people were talking about Harry Maguire after yesterday, Marcel. And Fabrizio Romano has tweeted this morning that Manchester United had contacts to be informed on the conditions of Jean-Claire Todibo deal. Now, no bid or talks at this stage, as the option could only be activated if Harry Maguire leaves. Juventus, they were in the race for Todibo, but they left that race last week. Now, I think United basically are at this stage at the moment whereby anyone we bring in is a replacement for the person that is going to leave. For instance, if Fred leaves, Amrabat comes in. If Maguire leaves, Todibo comes in. Basically, that's the kind of place we're at when it comes to FFP. Romano did say to Court Offside in an interview that he does, or an article column that he does nearly every day, David Moyes has informed West Ham's board that Harry Maguire is the ideal profile to strengthen his backline. Their direction in the market, as far as defensive reinforcements are concerned, is quite clear. So David Moyes still really wants Harry Maguire, even though Maguire may not want West Ham. Marcel, talk to me about Harry Maguire. Obviously, yesterday makes the mistake. Yesterday got booed by the fans at the Aviva Stadium, and then people tried to sort of, counterbalance that by cheering for him. What do you make of his situation at the moment? Where does he go from here?
Difficult for him. Obviously, that game, I think almost every time he was in possession of the ball, I could hear some sort of jeering of sorts anyway. So would have been a hostile environment for him. I think that kind of crowd, passionate, and they can see when quality is there or not there. And unfortunately, they're just making themselves heard. Something difficult for a player to deal with, but he has to deal with it as a player. Been seeing a lot of stuff against Maguire throughout the tour, man. I've not liked everything, people hurling abuse at him, posters and all of that kind of thing. There's no need for all of that, you can just articulate how you feel and that's it, But I don't understand it going too far. But the mistake was really bad, though. You could just see, like, in terms of the decision-making process, it's very clear that he's someone that's just going to break down the passing options, and in the build-up phase, he's too slow. It's really bad. The pointing, he's been doing it all last season. You know, we was talking about the pointing. I'm pretty sure I've said that at the ground cut a few times. It's just really bad. So difficult situation for him, but I think now, like what we've been saying, for the betterment of his career, he has to find somewhere else. It's just that simple for him now. And he will still have a good career and at Premier League level as well. You know, you can still be in the mid-table sides and push for Europe and on all sorts. So unfortunately, you know, surplus to requirements, and it was just another example as to why.
Yeah, I agree with you in that aspect of it. Wasn't a surprise, you know, to see Maguire give the ball away in the manner that he did yesterday. No real pressure on him, you know, trying to play out from the back. You know, the reason that mistake comes is because United are told play out from the back, and Maguire can't do it. And I don't know, like I know I've said this to you. I've said this a million times, and it's not like a personal thing. I'm never going to go down that route. He's a fridge. He's this and that. He's a fraud, blah, blah, blah. 80 million, the amount of money he's on, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go down that route. The 80 million price tag, that's not his fault. The contract that was given to him, that's not his fault. That's Man United's fault. That's Man United's cross to bear when it comes to that. That's their error. That's their mistake. That's their embarrassment. Every single time people are spending money on centre-backs, Harry Maguire's top of the list as the most expensive ever. I mean, Man City have just signed Gvardiol, and you look at the list of the top expensive centre-backs ever, and you see Van Dijk and Gvardiol lower than Harry Maguire, and you're embarrassed. You're embarrassed because of it, because it's an embarrassing transfer. But that's not Maguire's fault. When it gets into the territory of Maguire's fault is this reluctance to leave, or this reluctance to accept that it's over at Man United and it's not working anymore, and it hasn't worked out. And as you mentioned, doesn't make you a terrible player, makes you not suited to where you are right now. Your qualities, your attributes are not suited to being a Manchester United player. I mean, even before Ten Hag came in, they weren't suited, and I don't think his quality was ever there. Man United tried it. He tried it. It hasn't worked out. The thing that frustrates me is this, like I said, reluctance of, I'm going to fight for my spot. There's no spot to fight for at this point. There is nothing left. The writing was on the wall last season, and now it's even brighter. It's even bolder. It's even bigger, because look at what's happened. You know, you're now fourth choice, and rightfully so. Some people said to me on social media, maybe even lower than that. You know, because Ten Hag's shown that he'd rather play Luke Shaw at centre-back than Harry Maguire. So possibly fifth choice. He's no longer the captain. He got stripped of the captaincy, not because of any disciplinary issue, not because he fell out with the manager, not because he's leaving. He got stripped of the captaincy because he's not good enough to be the captain. There are far better and more leaders than him at Manchester United. So the captaincy got taken off him, and he's not going to play. He still plays at an international level because the manager's got this loyalty that he overlooks players that are playing better and more regularly in his starting 11s. But even that can only go so far. So someone, as I've said a million times, even if Maguire thinks there's something to fight for and there's something to claw onto or hang on to, someone's got to go up to him, whether it's his agent, representatives, family, or even, you know, Ten Hag or whoever, and say, look, mate, it's over. It's done. You know, you're not going to play. And I think he's going about this now in the wrong manner, because in his mind, it kind of looks like he feels that sticking around and fighting is proving himself, which again is ironic considering he said that he didn't have to prove himself. But ultimately, the way now to prove himself is to take a transfer, is to go to a club that he feels is a step down, like West Ham. Oh, it's a step down. I'm too good for West Ham. Go to West Ham and prove yourself. Play there so well for a year that this time next year, you've got Spurs, you've got Chelsea, you've got whoever it may be, you've got Newcastle, you've got whoever it may be. Good, actually, let's get Harry Maguire in. Yeah, he's too good for West Ham. He can really add to us. Do that. Prove yourself. Prove yourself isn't sitting on the bench again for a year, maybe playing in the League Cup, or a bit like at the end of last season, waiting until every other centre-back is injured and then getting into the side. And on top of that, as you've seen, the atmosphere's toxic. And I don't condone that. I thought that was rubbish, to be honest, because I think that the moment you put the shirt on and you step across the white line onto the pitch, you're called a supporter. So you probably should support your team and support your players. And people say, well, he deserves it. Well, you know, again, this is when you get into the territory of constructive, respectful criticism. you know. And what are you trying to prove when you're doing that? I'm going to keep booing him every time he touches the ball. So the mistake that he made, he makes another one and we lose the game. So if at the end of the game we lose because your booing has made him play worse, because again, it will affect him, then are you happy at the end of the game? I proved my point at the end of the game because I booed him. And obviously you can say what you want. You pay your money, you buy a ticket. You can say what you want within reason, obviously. But I see that as very counterproductive. You know, at the end of the day,
you're right.
And again, and people could say, "Oh, yeah," but I can say what I want. But what are you trying to achieve with that?
You're right, and you know what? Ten Hag won't even take Maguire off because he's putting him on there to see if he can handle these environments. Ten Hag's not going to take these players off like straight away. He'll keep playing them there, and obviously as a sign to everyone as well. Look, he can't do it, but at the same time, he wants the players to play in that deliberate way. So it's just going to be more of those kind of mistakes when you're doing those kind of things. But, you know, it is what it is. And I can understand why fans would be like that as well. So
I can understand the frustration. Like I said, I think that part of it, I mean, we'd like to talk about, a great fan base we are, how loyal we are and how we back players. But apparently we don't until they start playing shit, and we'll start booing them. In a preseason friendly, Marcel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just a case of, wait till the whistle's over at the very least, during a game. And it's like, and again, and it's almost frustrating that you have to, before you defend Harry Maguire and say, I don't think he should be booed. I don't think he's not good enough and he should be playing for United. But you have to say all that before you say, but you shouldn't boo him during a game, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And again, I know, and I already know the reaction to this will be, because I haven't even looked at the comments yet, but I know what the reaction will be when it comes to it. Some of it will be, this is what's wrong with the fan base, this is just too soft, and all that kind of stuff. Call me crazy, call me old-fashioned, but when players are playing, even if you don't like them, you support them, or you don't. And it's not even a case of not liking Harry Maguire, it's just saying that he's not good enough, But
yeah.
Hey, there you go. Zayn Miassi with the super chat. He's straight in this morning. Says, champions played City off the park. Don't even get me started on Arsenal this morning. The hypocrisy is all over the shop. A group of fans, right? A group of fans that last season went out of their way to tell Man United fans that the Carabao Cup didn't matter. And it's a nothing trophy. It doesn't matter. And now trying to tell Man United fans how much the Community Shield means. Seriously. I'll take hypocrisy for 500, please. I mean, nonsense. And don't get me wrong with that, too. Every trophy matters. But there's priorities. There's a priority list. There's a level of significance when it comes to trophies. The Community Shield is at the bottom when it comes to it, right? That's how it works.
It's the preseason trophy.
So don't get me wrong. I have no issue with Arsenal fans celebrating beating City at Wembley. It's a great day out. City are a good side. It has no bearing on the season because City have now lost the last 3. They lost it last season to Liverpool. Liverpool didn't get top 4. City won the treble. Right? A season before that, who did City play? Was it Leicester? Leicester aren't even in the Premier League anymore. So and City won the league that year as well. So it doesn't have really any impact on the season. Celebrate all you want, but don't suddenly start saying that this matters when you told us the Carabao Cup last season didn't matter, because that is nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. You're not going to get to the end of the season and Arteta's going to come forth and you go, it was a successful season though because we won the Community Shield. You're not going to say that, are you? You're not.
It's the preseason trophy, Owen. That's what it is. It's the best. It's the EFL's way of setting up a preseason game for the fans, and they won it. That was it. And then it was a scruffy goal that Trossard scores in the last seconds of the game, anyway, to get them back in it, and then they won penalties.
I have genuinely no issue with celebrating winning a trophy at Wembley, even if it's not the most important trophy at all. And it is literally the least important trophy out of the trophies you can win. But I don't have an issue with that. My issue comes from hypocrisy, which is just, it don't matter. I saw, right, someone's got to talk to Robbie, yeah? Because I literally saw on the AFTV preview, watch it, it took him like 40 seconds to say Man United in that video. I couldn't believe it. I thought, I'll see this preview for the game. 40 seconds in, and these Man United fans that were talking about how important the League Cup is, no one was talking about Man United. No one was talking about the League Cup. The Arsenal fans are mad. Honestly, it's kind of nuts. Super chat from Amanor as well says cost of living affecting Zayn Miassi. Screw Arsenal. And like I said, I don't have an issue with them winning a trophy or anything like that, or winning the final. But don't play up the importance of one when you play down the importance of the other. That makes no sense at all. But yes, we've got over 1,000 people watching. Click a like on the like button if you haven't already. So yes, steering back to the Maguire one very quickly. Again, I know people are going to have different thoughts and opinions on this. Let us know in the comment section below if you're watching after the fact. About the booing and all that kind of stuff. I think everyone's unanimous, Marcel, when they say he should go. Yeah. Just steering back to the news in question, if he does go and we can bring in someone like Todibo, would you be for that?
Haven't seen much of Todibo. Haven't seen much of him. Somebody does need to come in, though, in replacement for Harry Maguire. And even if it's Leicester, I don't know. I would just like him to go somewhere in the Premier League and as quickly as possible, and for good and for any sort of price. The player Johnny Evans is someone that looks like, you know, he can replace Maguire if it's 5th or 6th choice that we're worried about. But in terms of getting a world-class centre back that can push Varane, you know, we need to go into the market for that kind of player. The players, the outgoings need to happen so that we can maybe ascertain, you know, 40, 50 million to get a proper good centre back in. Haven't seen much of this Todibo, though. Educate me if you know anything on him.
Well, I think the positive thing would be with Todibo, and this is kind of what I was talking about previously with Maguire. I mentioned this yesterday during the match view, is that if you're where he is now, which is 4th choice, obviously your 4th choice shouldn't be on 200k a week. And 2, it should be a young centre-back that you're developing with the hope that in a year's time or a couple of years' time, they're your 2nd choice or they're your 1st choice. As of right now, it's Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane. And Victor Lindelof's that 3rd choice of, we know what he can do. He can step in at any point. We're not too worried when he steps in. Obviously, there's a little bit of a drop-off, but the drop-off isn't too much. He proved at the end of the season he is quality, and he's got capabilities of being a 3rd choice centre-back at United. What you want a 4th choice to be is someone that Todibo's 23. There you go, okay, maybe not right now, but maybe in a year he can be, or maybe this season, because let's face it, at some point Varane probably is going to get injured or he's not going to play every game, certainly, because we have to manage him. Then you've got that young person that you're slowly easing in over time as well. That's really what a 4th choice should be, not someone that's like Maguire, who's 30, former captain on 200k a week, honestly. But yes, let me know your thoughts about the Maguire situation in the chat as well. Let's see what you guys are saying. Anthony says, you guys are shameless, Owen and Marcel. Would you have rather City won? And a shrugging emoji. No. I have no issue with who won the match. My issue is with putting down one to say that it's important, it's not important, and then celebrating that and telling me rather that that's important. Show Rahman says Maguire's reached the point of no return at United. Don't agree with the booing, but there's just no way back for him. Reminds me of Fellaini when he got booed, which I would agree with certainly as well. What else are people saying in the chat at the moment? Maguire 6th choice behind Varane, Martinez, Lindelof, and Shaw. Then me. He's playing as well. Josh says Community Shield is a pre-season friendly. Since when did it become major honours? Exactly. I do agree with what Robbie was saying with that. I do think that they should try and make it into something more important, akin to like a Super Cup, you know, like they have in Spain or that kind of thing. They could definitely make it more important as well. And just very briefly, as we're talking about centre-back options too, Johnny Evans, as of right now, there's no real update on him. According to Samuel Luckhurst, he's got 2 weeks left on his current contract. He's unsure if United will extend it. The club are yet to make a decision. What would your decision be when it comes to Johnny Evans? Would you keep him or would you move in the other direction?
Keep him. You know, part of the old guard, understands what it means to be a Man United player. Keep him, you know, you make sure that the standard is high. Someone that can just a floor raiser, you know, understands the level and raises the bottom line, you know. So yeah, definitely you have to keep him.
He's
technical. He's a technical player.
I don't know. I mean, having watched him in pre-season, a couple of times, Marcel, he's shown his age significantly. Yesterday, He got done a couple of times, and obviously he wouldn't play. You know, he'd come in and he would be 5th choice or something like that. So I think it depends on United where they see all of their money at the moment. You know what I mean? If they think a bit like with the Maguire, like we're just chatting about, if they sell Maguire and they think, well, we can get to Debo, they'll get to Debo, and then I think they'd let Evans move on. He's an option, but once you actually see him play and you realize of what sort of circumstance we would get in to actually have him to have to play, I'm like, oof. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how well that would work out. So I think I can kind of understand United point of view at the moment. Where they're going, oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, honestly, because having watched them a couple of times, I'm not sure.
It's more than just what's on the pitch. You know, off the pitch, I think
that's true.
Those attributes are very important, man. And if he's able to bring that quality and just parts of the past that he understands and he knows the levels that we need to be at in the big moments, then you have to have him in and around the squad. Even if it's for a season, you know, much more valuable than the likes of Maguire. Imagine somebody that's not physically or old, a little bit older, but technical, but he's still got the technical ability. And if he can help raise the level in the training sessions in and around the squad, and if that's what we're hearing, you know, that was a lot of the PR that was coming out at the beginning. He's saying that he was a leader, saying that he's got the mental attributes to help boost the team. We need that in abundance, you know. So bring him in. Hopefully, trains the fourth choice young defender that we get, and is able to work with him and improve his abilities. So I think he'll be useful, especially throughout the season. Ten Hag will find a use for him.
Super chat from Avi says, "Is nobody worried Andre has been lobbed twice?" No, I'm not worried when it comes to that. Again, I still find it such a bizarre talking point that people are trying to force, and that's what it is. The Andre Onana has been chip thing. Obviously, technically, yes, he has. The Jude Bellingham one and the one that happened against Lens at the weekend. But I cannot believe the amount the big deal that's been made out of that. Like, that's going to be, I mean, there might be goals similar to that, but any of the big sweeper keepers in the Premier League, Alisson, Ederson, even Ramsdale last season, that goal that Onana conceded at the weekend has happened to all of them. And it will happen to every sweeper keeper. And as I said before, I don't understand the logic behind bringing a keeper in who's known for being a sweeper keeper and having a high starting position, and then criticizing him for being a sweeper keeper and having a high starting position. I think that the discourse surrounding this comes from sort of United fans. And I mean, some of it's just like the opposition fans trolling. But I think the United fans that are worried about that, my advice would be get used to it, because you're just not used to having a goalkeeper that is that high up. You're used to a goalkeeper that will only come a certain distance, and we don't know any better because we've had a goalkeeper for over a decade that played a certain way. So there's going to be a period of adjustment, and that comes to the players too. But the narrative of, you know, because the narrative going in with Andre Onana is that he was this reckless, eccentric goalkeeper, and they've already looked at that and started to say he's this eccentric guy. Marcel is basically in the opposition half. Basically, that's why that goal went in. And again, you look at that goal, you go, no, that goal happened because Diogo Dalot couldn't pass a ball 5 yards and did a bad pass without looking, played it behind Rafael Varane. And in an instance like that, where in the middle of the pitch too, you've got a player who can then run onto a ball and have a straight strike at goal, and the goalkeeper's miles off his line. So going to go in, and that's going to happen.
It's part and parcel of the game now. You know, the style of football that we're trying to play requires all the players on the pitch to be part of the shape and the formation of the team. And we're trying to squeeze spaces higher up the pitch. The goalkeeper has to be part of the space that the defenders are now leaving. Once they take 10 and 5 yard steps up the pitch, there's a massive gap there. He has to close the space. We lost the ball really poorly. It was a poor back pass from Dalot, careless. And then the striker, very aggressive, moving forward, gets an opportunity. Good goal. It's a really good goal. But again, it just means that the defenders now have to take more responsibility and care, because they're in an active part of the pitch. You're in the middle of the pitch now. You're not in your defensive half having time and cup of teas and biscuit. You're in the middle of the pitch. You have to be careful and take care of the football. You know, so it's a part. The defenders have also got a really important job now in terms of they're playing like midfielders almost when we're that high up the pitch. That's the kind of behavior that they have to take on. So, you know, and you're right in terms of how people are trying to view Onana, as an eccentric goalkeeper. I remember a shot that was deflected and it was high, and people were saying it was for the cameras when it was him just backpedaling and diving for the shot. It wasn't for the cameras. So I can see that narrative coming in. Obviously, opposition fans are going to hate this now. We have the best defensive goalkeeper in the world. This is a simple fact. In the first 2/3 of the pitch, in the build-up phase and in the mid phase, he's the best passer in those two elements of the game. Once he gets used to the players, once he gets used to the movement patterns, we're going to be breaking lines for fun. So obviously opposition fans are going to want to, put on that negative energy as early as possible and try and settle it in as early as possible. But Man United fans, we can tell, or I've always known, are not comfortable with the back passing. They used to boo it for the last 2-3 seasons that I've been in the stadium. They used to boo it every single time they saw a back pass. So a habit that we have to get used to, a habit that we will grow to get used to as well. But like I've been saying, it will inspire a generation of young goalkeepers that play for the Man United shirt now. They're gonna have to really respect build-up and be damn well good at it, because it's what frees the spaces especially in the first third. So 50% possession guaranteed almost now for this whole season. Do you know what I mean? It's those little things that Ten Hag's gonna want, that Onana adds to the team and to the whole structure of the team. So it's a very, very important signing. And we have to respect that there's going to be a teething period. That's just part and parcel of when you're making a big change like this. It's going to happen. So it's nothing.
As Compost Murph says, I think this sums up, for me anyway, it says, I'm more worried about our defenders and midfielders giving the ball away every 2 seconds. That's my worry. I'm more worried about that. Look at the goals we've conceded in our last 3 preseason games. Every single one comes from an individual error in terms of a bad pass. That's the worry for me. Ronald with the super chat says, not a big fan of his, but it's a bloody disgrace our fans booing any of our players. I do hope he leaves the club soon, which again, I think is where certainly I sit when it comes to that as well. And Red Baron says to Marcel, what did you think of Eriksen's cardiovascular? I mean, we'll move on. I mean, it was a poor choice of words for Marcel before, wasn't it? It was a poor choice. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Rasmus Hojlund, of course, officially announced as a Manchester United player over the weekend at Old Trafford. Now, according to Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail, Manchester United have not given Rasmus Hojlund a squad number yet because they are expecting transfer movement this week. In particular, most likely it's going to be Fred. We'll talk about that in just a second, because the expectation, according to Fabrizio Romano, is that Rasmus Hojlund will be wearing the number 17 shirt at Manchester United. Marcel, what did you make of Hojlund's announcement? And what did you think of the news, of course, that he's got a small injury, or he suffered a small injury in pre-season, which means that he's back training now, but he's maybe a week or so behind or something like that. That's what they were saying. Or the point being is that he possibly won't be available for the game against Wolves, and which is also the reason why this announcement took a little while longer, because by all accounts, this injury wasn't maybe disclosed to Man United, and they found it and went, hey, what's this injury? Turns out it's nothing that big, but you have to do your due diligence and check these things. What did you think of the whole announcement, and what do you think of his injury?
Well, just finding out now on that injury, kind of heard a little bit about it maybe before, but where do I start? I think obviously the announcement was really nice. He's a giant, by the way. He's a giant. Like, Ten Hag really.
Well, everyone's a giant compared to you, Marcel.
Yeah, obviously. I'm always looking up, but he's like a super giant. Do you get it? Like, he's really big, man. I'm thinking, wow, like Ten Hag really does like these tall forwards, and it just looks. I'm kind of excited once he learns the art of back to goal and hold up play, and gets really good at it, and maybe picks up a few things off Tony Marshall in terms of linking up.
Because what? We're getting injured. Don't pick up anything off Martial. Don't look at him and say that's what not to do.
No. See, you decided to take the most negative thing. I'm trying to take the most positive thing from Tony Martial, and that's the build-up play. And if you can get that dropping into the midfield line or into the half spaces, and really master that, because that's what Martial's got to be the best forward for Ten Hag in terms of the link-up. Obviously, considering Hojlund coming in now, that might be a different opinion from Ten Hag now, but I'm excited. He looks like a forward. He looks like he's got presence about him. So that's good. But the injury thing, I'm not really happy about that, if I'm honest. I don't know if that means that I hope he gets 20 minutes against Wolves. I wanted to see him play one of the friendlies, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But if he can play maybe 20, 30 minutes against Wolves, get a good feel he needs to be in and around the Old Trafford crowd just to get comfortable with the players and the teammates and all that, man. So I hope he gets 20 minutes then against Wolves and I hope it's not a severe, a long incurring injury that's always going to peer up or anything like that. I just hope he's fit and ready.
It's just almost typical of United, isn't it? That we sign a striker and we still go into a season technically without a recognised striker available, certainly, because obviously Anthony Martial, you bring him up. I mean, he was in America. He was with the squad in the USA. And we are going to talk about him in a bit, but since the last game of last season in the Premier League, he has played 0 minutes. And there's been a full preseason in which he has played 0 minutes. He still last season did not complete 90 minutes. So I have no idea what's going on with him. So he's off the table in terms of actually having an available option. The Hojlund one, I think, like you and I thought, oh, good, we got it in just before the start of the season. So he's going to play at least in one of these friendlies, and then he'll play against Wolves. Good. Then when you find out he's got this little injury that maybe United didn't know about, and yeah, it's not a big deal, but he might miss the start of the season, you just go, oh, sort of again, a bit like last season, we go into the beginning of the season and we didn't have a recognised striker available then, did we? Ronaldo hadn't done a pre-season. He was on the bench for the first game against Brighton at Old Trafford. So we find ourselves in a similar position. I think we're fortunate in the aspect of, I think we'll get away with it because we're facing Wolves at home, and this might come back to bite me, famous last words, but we've got enough about us to beat Wolves at home in the first game of the season, considering particularly how Wolves have had their summer of hardly any transfers, losing players, talks of Lopetegui might walk. So I think we're just about okay when it comes to that, but it's not the ideal preparation, is it? And I think maybe that's also why when we were talking about priorities, that whole time about priority lists, striker was first because that was the most important one to have now. And we're not going to have that now. Over the grand scheme of things, long term, if he just misses that one game against Wolves, it's not the end of the world, is it? There's plenty of games to play. But no, it's exciting that he's in. Finally got a striker. But yet we're still waiting to see actually in a shirt. We don't have his number just yet, certainly. Let me just check the super chats here as well. We've got a new member. It's that guy, Des, is the latest member of the UB Members Club. Welcome to you. Be sure to, you can join him rather in the UB Members Club. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members only content as well. Be sure to click the like button. How many likes do you think we're on, Marcel?
We're on 290 likes.
You're 100 off. It's 34 minutes past the hour. Marcel Maths means it should be 340 likes. We're currently at 193.
So I was literally 100 off. Quick question, just on that.
Go on.
What number do you think Hojlund should be? What number do you think?
Well, he's going to probably be 17, isn't he? He's going to be number 17. Is going to be Fred's number. That's what they're waiting on. They're waiting for Fred to leave, and then he'll get that number. I believe, was that the number that he was at Atalanta? I think it was, maybe.
I think it was, yeah.
I think it was. But, I mean, look, it might be a case of how long is Anthony Martial going to be there? I mean, if Martial leaves this summer, maybe they wait and go, oh, there you go.
Number 9.
Give you number 9. Yeah, that could be possible too. Let's move on. Speaking of Fred, let's talk about Fred. His exit from United, of course, he wasn't part of the pre-season games back over here in the UK and in Dublin as well. And Fabrizio Romano has said that Manchester United expect Fred Sale to advance this week. Sources guarantee he will 100% leave the club. The negotiations will also continue with Real Sociedad for Donny van de Beek. Simon Stone from the BBC has said that Fulham remain interested in Fred, but a firm offer is yet to materialise. In terms of other exits as well, there's been an announcement this morning from David Ornstein that even though we got that, I think, did we get a Here We Go over the weekend? We might have got a Here We Go over the weekend about Matt Turner to Nottingham Forest. But despite reaching an agreement for Matt Turner, Nottingham Forest remain determined to re-sign Dean Henderson, and discussions are held with Manchester United. An appearance clause in a loan-to-buy agreement has been at the crux of negotiations because Forest have some FFP issues. They spent a lot of money last season, but they still do want Henderson. Let's take this bit by bit. Fred, 100% going to leave United. To where is still the big point of people aren't really sure. Fulham, I mean, Simon Stone saying that they're still interested, but there's been no bid yet. Galatasaray, we know they are interested, but whether or not they can afford the price that United are looking for, that's up for question. Of course, Saudi clubs are interested. But given the fact he's 100% going to leave, what's your best Fred memory, Marcel?
That rude, he's bursting into the box against Atletico, and then he does like a roulette, but it's his own style of roulette in the corner against the defenders. And then I think he does a pass back. I don't know if he ends up with an assist from it, but it's in the Champions League, I think, against Atletico at Old Trafford. He does a 360 roulette in the corner and then does a little back pass. I don't know if it's an assist from it, but that's got to be one of my favourite Fred memories. Or the goal against Barcelona, Old Trafford last season as well. Oh no, 2 seasons ago that Fred roulette was actually, and then last season it was the right foot strike into the bottom corner against Barcelona.
I don't know if I have a specific Fred memory because my memory is rubbish when it comes to that kind of stuff. I think last season he had some really good performances. I think back to played at Old Trafford. He sat on Kevin De Bruyne for the whole game. Oh, yeah. I think back to when he played against Spurs. He was man of the match against Spurs at Old Trafford. He was excellent. I think his legacy at United is a player that when he first came in, was he one of the only signings of Mourinho's last summer? I think it was. I think Fred was the only major signing in addition to like Lee Grant or something like that. And then didn't play for a while and went for a period of time when he was playing almost, you'd say, too much. McTominay and Fred in midfield. And every single time you saw him on the team sheet, you went, oh my God. And now to where we are now, we've got like Casemiro, Ericsson, Casemiro, Mount, Casemiro, maybe Amrabat. I mean, what an upgrade, right? But I think his legacy at United is someone that you could never fault his work rate. You could never fault his work ethic. And one of the more inconsistent players ever, in the sense of 1 week, you'd be like, man, Fred's actually really good, Fred's good. And the next week, you're like, Fred's terrible. You never know. You never know what you're going to get with him. Sometimes you go, he is Brazilian. And then you go, no, he's definitely not Brazilian. This guy's got no touch whatsoever. But I don't think you could ever fault his work rate. But it looks like he's 100% going to be leaving. Donny van der Beek, I must be said, last 3 games of pre-season against, obviously yesterday in Dublin, against Bilbao, against Dortmund, and he came on and played against Real Madrid. I think Donny's looked really sharp, actually. Donny's looked really sharp. I think his feet look really good. His link-up play was good. Doesn't change my opinion that he needs to leave for the sake of his career. Again, he hasn't played for the Netherlands since 2021. So absolutely, with a European Championship around the corner, leave, play a full season, get yourself into that European Championship squad and restart your career, really. And I think he'd do well at Sociedad. Again, I think that's the perfect league for him. Not too physical, more technical. He's a technical player. I think that would work out for him perfectly. And then as far as the Henderson thing, Marcel, what are your thoughts on that whole, they're looking for an appearance clause in there? Because I think the rumor had been, or the reports had been, that Forest were looking for something like, okay, obligation to buy, we'll definitely buy him, but it's going to have to be after 30 games or something like that. And United looked at it and said, no, it's going to have to be after like 5 games or something like that. Because again, we need the money and we want the money for him. Where do you think United should sit on that when it comes to Henderson?
100%. I think this should be an immediate sell, an immediate sell. But obviously with this situation that Forest are worried about, I heard it was an injury. I heard it was Henderson potentially maybe had a thigh injury of sorts or has just recovered from it now. And they want to make sure that he makes a certain amount of games before they make the sale of this person or they sign the contract and say, yeah, we'll make the commitment to buy. But that's what I had read somewhere. I can't remember where, Owen, but that's what I thought it was. And if that's the case, then I can understand why both parties are on the side that they're on. Man United are saying, well, the trial period should be a much shorter than this, 5 to 10 games. And Forest are saying, well, no, we want to make sure that he can, or the trial period or the amount of games, the quota for the game should be a lot more so that we can guarantee that the fitness is past its worrying stage and that he's fully fit. So I think that's where we should land that. But I would prefer an ultimate a sale. You should just go, maybe if you make the price a bit cheaper, just to get him off the books, because that's been my mentality for the whole window. I think that's more of the main thing. But just quickly on Fred as well. Another good Fred moment is he's always got his hands up. Every single mistake he makes, he's always
hands up and the thumbs up.
Yeah,
hands up, thumbs up.
Yeah. So I obviously miss that about him, because he used to obviously he'll take a lot of the responsibility or the blame when he makes a mistake on his shoulders. And I think against Forest at home in the cup game, he hit the post from a free kick. He just randomly went up to Bruno and somebody else and asked to take the free kick. I think it was last season as well. And he wrapped it against Forest, and he wrapped it in the post. Nearly was a worldie. So he's been good for us the last couple of seasons and moments, like you said, man. And then for Donny, I think that's a good league for him as well. I agree with you in that sense. even though the last preseason, even the last one, him and Sancho link up was really good. The Sancho and Donny link up last game was really, really good. But it's surplus to requirements as well. So as long as we can get them gone for a good, affordable price, Owen, I'm happy. We should just drop the price for Henderson. Just drop it a little bit and see if they take him straight away, because they've been looking at other goalkeepers as well for us. So,
just a bit of an update. Rafael Varane has tweeted this morning, and he's spoken about, obviously, these new rules that have been put in by the FA. We saw them in the Championship over the weekend, about time being added on. We saw Arteta yesterday get booked. There's only one person allowed in the technical area. There's new rules at the beginning of every new season. There's new rules that come out, and people have got to get used to them. I don't know how many times the handball rule has changed at this point. I don't even know what handball is anymore, Marcel. But Rafael Varane has tweeted, and he has said, and I quote, "We had a meeting last week with the FA. They recommended from the referees new decisions and rules. From the managers and players, we have shared our concerns for many years that now there are too many games, the schedule is overcrowded, and it's at a dangerous level for players' physical and mental well-being. Despite our previous feedbacks, they have now recommended for next season longer games, more intensity, and less emotions to be shown by players. We just want to be in good condition on the pitch and to give 100% to our club and fans, while our opinions not being heard. As a player, I feel very privileged to do the job I love every day, but I feel these changes are damaging our game. We want to be at our maximum level, the best we can be, and put on amazing performances for fans to celebrate every week. I believe it is important that we, players and managers, highlight these important issues as we want to protect the game we love and give the fans our best." So basically, Varane is saying that the players are being ignored in their recommendations and feedback to the FA and the PGMLO when it comes to these new rules. Just very briefly on that, to be honest. I mean, obviously, people are going to point out Varane is just worried that you're going to get injured playing more minutes. In reality, look, the thing with the time being added on, because I saw Pep talk about this yesterday. I saw Pep say more minutes, it's going to lead to more players getting injured. That's not right. The issue is, and this is very rare for me to sort of side with referees or anything like that, but I feel like their hands are tied, because as a football fan and as a consumer of the product, I've watched games where the ball is barely in play. I mean, like I said, average time the ball is in play for like 50 minutes of a 90-minute game. I think the average is like 58 or something like that. And the reason is because you get to like 70 minutes, people start going down, they start wasting time, they start doing this, they start doing that. And I think from what the referees and from what the PGMLO have said, they said, well, the reason a game might get to 100 minutes is because, again, time will be wasted, or if there's an injury or anything like that. But if you don't waste time, then you're not going to get that time be added on. And I think that would be their pushback on it. What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously we saw at the World Cup, didn't we, of all the time being added on. What are your thoughts on it?
Good point. We saw it at the World Cup and I loved it, and I absolutely loved it. I was like, more football to enjoy, more intense moments towards the end of the game, the structure, the way the team's mentalities towards the end of the game, for long periods of the end of the game. It's really interesting. It's quite intense. It looks good, man. I think it's a good thing to be added into football. I also think, though, you do have to look after players, and someone like Varane is the perfect kind of player to talk about it. But I think what we might end up seeing is a general quality of football drop a little bit. I think they should maybe just add another sub in, or, maybe add another sub, or allow teams to have a little bit of a bigger squad to try and combat this. But I don't think
people are saying stop the clock. People are saying stop the clock. I mean, that was, that happens in other sports, isn't it? The moment the ball, the play stops or the ball goes out of play, it's clock stops, and then you play to 90 minutes. And once you get to 90 minutes, that's it. The whistle blows. And people can say, oh, that's taking some emotion out of football. But I think you do see football does have to evolve over time, and whilst I can understand I can understand the player's point of view. I mean, look how many games we played last season, Marcel. It was a joke. It was a joke last season with the World Cup too. That's why I say things like, international football, the Nations League, or some weird friendlies sometimes that we have. And it's like, why? That is just a waste of a game. That is completely pointless. So I totally agree with that. But I do think that when it came to time wasting and time being added on, something did have to be done because it was getting silly. But I don't know. I think, is this just a case of there's got to be a compromise found here? Maybe that is stopping the clock. I don't know.
Stopping the clock sounds interesting to me. It does sound interesting to me. I just don't think is that then we're playing like what looks like wasting time, and I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of grey area in stopping the clock that I have to really think about and look at properly. But it does sound like something that you could look at. I just think maybe adding another sub, allow teams to be a little bit bigger and and put fresher players onto the pitch. I think that maybe add another sub that they're allowed to make. See how managers behave then when they're allowed to make another sub, or allow them to make a sub in the first half. I don't know. Or it's quite difficult, man. But I'm enjoying the fact that the games will be a little bit longer for me anyway. Personally, like you're saying, as the consumer, I love watching football. So the more that I can get to watch, the better.
I mean, so I think it might have been Arsene Wenger who said this. And it was one recommendation was the games are 60-minute games. And people went, what, 60-minute games? You're taking half an hour off. And their point of view was, no, we're not. We're playing 60-minute games and then we'll add the time on. Basically, as if to say, like, the regulation time is 60. But because we know you're going to waste time, most games will end up being around 90 minutes. So it might be something like that. I do, like I said, I do agree with the sentiment of what, the FIFA and, for instance, here, the FA, the PGMLO are trying to do, because ultimately what they're trying to do is have the ball in play longer. They're trying to have less time wasting. Obviously, if there's injuries and stoppages, that's what stoppage time is for. You're adding that time back onto the game. But again, if that just gets to the clock stops, then it's always going to be fair every single time. You're always going to 90. That might be what they do, I think. But I can understand the players' point of view, because they're like, wow, if game's now going to be lasting 100 minutes or even longer than that, that adds up over a course of a 38-game season or in multiple competitions, a 60-game season. Suddenly I'm playing 20 hours extra football than I thought I was going to be playing, which again is a fair point of view to look at. So I think there's a compromise with that one too. I don't know if this is sort of the final ending point that they've got to when it comes to the time added on. I mean, let us know your thoughts in the live chat, or if you're watching afterwards in the comment section below. I'm really interested to let you know about to get your thoughts on that one too. What have we got in the chats when it comes to super chats here? Lil Yo-Yo says, if Marcel had a shop, he'd be bankrupt, zero profits. Wow, Marcel, everything's a fire sale with Mr. Marcel. You know what I mean? Everything's a fire sale. And Joe Blackman's the latest member of the UV Members Club, long-time member, but big up to Joe Blackman as well. Let's move on. Last couple of topics. Anthony Martial. Is it possible he could go to West Ham? Oh, I don't believe this one. Once again, for Rich Romano, chatting to Court Offside, has said that Anthony Martial is one among multiple forwards that West Ham's list extends to, though no final decision has been made on any particular pathway the club could explore for this department. Very quickly, Marcel, is there any chance that West Ham would buy a player that hasn't played a minute of pre-season and didn't complete 90 minutes last season? When you put it like that, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think that would be silly too. And then on the wages that he's on as well, he's got astronomical wages. Edward Woodness, of course. So he's on astronomical wages. He would be the best striker at West Ham, which is the positive. But when would they get to see him play? And they've got someone like Antonio, who's just always available, and I think they're record goal scorer. So I don't know. It would be nice it would be nice to get him off the books. I would like Hojlund to be number 9 for the club. If he's going to be here for the next God knows how long, maybe decade or half a decade, I would prefer him to be the number 9 for the club. But you never know, that might be safe for Harry Kane next season. I don't know. But most probably, in fact, it's most probably safe for Harry Kane for next season. But yeah, we just need to obviously see what happens with the Martial situation. This will most probably be his last season for obvious reasons. And yeah.
I agree with what some people are saying when it comes to Martial. If he was to go to West Ham, it would be on loan. They wouldn't buy him. I don't think they can't afford to. Like you said, wages and all that kind of stuff. The Harry Kane thing, very briefly. This is why you don't want to get involved with Daniel Levy, yeah? Because I don't know if you saw the latest developments when it came to Harry Kane. So at the end of, when was it? Friday? It was Friday, I think it was. Bayern Munich said, right, we're putting another bid in for Harry Kane. I think it was 100 million euros. And they said to Spurs, this is getting ridiculous. It's getting drawn out. we've got a deadline. By midnight, you accept this offer or reject it. Let us know by midnight, and then we can move on. We'll go to other targets. We've got other people we can go get, but let us know by midnight. Harry Kane also said that if I'm a Spurs player by the first game of the Premier League season, I'm a Spurs player till the end of the season. I'm not signing a new contract, but that's my deadline. So in response to those deadlines, what did Daniel Levy do? He went on holiday. He went to Miami. And this is the whole point with Man United. This is why they were wise not to get involved in the Harry Kane saga and race, because they know this guy. They know this guy. When you give Daniel Levy a deadline, he puts a middle finger up to the deadline and said, no, you don't mess around. And that's to a club that maybe they want to sell to. They'd be open to selling Harry Kane too, let alone us, who they won't sell Harry Kane to a Premier League club. The only chance, like you said, if we got is maybe a free transfer next summer. Or maybe, just maybe, if he sticks around to January and we've got a bit of money, we go, hey, this is it. This last chance you're going to get some money. Accept it now, which again, I don't even know if they would do. So, don't get involved with Daniel Levy. Just don't. We've done this a million times before. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I understand. But we have a stronger hand come January. In January, we're in a stronger position, and maybe we just spend the 50 million that he has to accept. Do you know what I mean? We spend the 65 million that he has to accept, and then you got a world-class striker for another 3-4 years. Listen, Harry Kane, free transfer next summer. Mark my words, it looks like something that could happen, or in January.
Well, if he stays at Spurs, if the window shuts, and Harry Kane, if he stays at Spurs, and if the window shuts and Harry Kane is still a Tottenham player, then I agree with you. Then I think United fans have something to get a bit excited about, because I think they start to go, I tell you what, that could be on. Yeah. That really could be on. I think if we get into a situation where Harry Kane does become a free agent next summer, look, everyone's going to be in for him. Everyone. And that's why it's important that we have a good season, because if we don't make the Champions League, or we look like actually we're quite way off it, then our chances of Harry Kane look quite unlikely. If we have a good season again, finish second, even third, go quite far in a cup competition, then we've got a really good chance. And you can see that actually, I'll tell you what, United aren't far away from really, really doing something. Then that becomes an option. Obviously, you've got a better chance qualifying for the Champions League because 5 teams this season. Yeah. So that might play a part of it too. But also an argument could be made that might play a part which could ultimately keep him at Spurs. Spurs might think, I tell you what, we might be able to get top 5, maybe. You never know. And if they get Champions League, then maybe he's got something to think about. That might be what they think about too. So I don't know. Keep an eye on that one. Like you said, you never know for next season. Never know at all. We're currently at just under 1,400 people watching. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Not at 500 likes just yet, Marcel. We've only got 5 minutes left to go. We can do it, I believe. Finally, Scott McTominay. Now, he didn't play a part over the weekend. Reportedly, he had a small injury, but he could still be outside of the leaving United, a Man United exit this summer, because Fabrizio Romano has said to Court Offside that Roma could mount a move for Scott McTominay shortly. They have expressed strong interest in recent hours. They could be encouraged to enter into negotiations following an approach from Rennes for Nemanja Matic. So Matic could be headed to France, and that could mean that McTominay could be headed to Italy. McTominay, again, we've spoken about this quite a lot, about how much he's worth. I couldn't see Roma paying 40 million quid for McTominay, because I'm not sure what their financial situation is like. And just generally, those sort of clubs around Europe don't have the finances that Premier League clubs do. But do you think he could work well under Jose at Roma?
Well, didn't Mourinho give him the player of the season, like the players
create an award?
Yeah. What? Yeah, definitely. That is a Mourinho player 101. And this, under last season, there was times where you're looking at some of the Mourinho players that were left behind under Ten Hag system, and you're thinking, okay, yeah, this is they were providing that defensive solidity, and McTominay was one of them. He kept Casemiro out of the team because he has those kind of attributes that Mourinho wants, those defensive kind of qualities and the ability to go up and down the pitch and to defend well. I think it could definitely work for him. It would be interesting for another British-based player to go out into the other leagues and hopefully do well, man. I think it would be a good addition to that team. Tammy Abraham's gone out there, Smalling's gone out there. Scott McTominay has an opportunity, man, to really kick on and do something different in his career. I think that would be good for him.
I agree with you. I think going to Roma would actually be a really good move for him. I think he would do well there. I think he'd do well under Jose. I think he'd play most weeks. But it's just finances. I think finances are the one. I mean, United have even said it themselves. Well, it's been reported anyway that he's one of those players not actively for sale, but if an offer comes in that's decent, that's what they're looking for, then they'd accept it. And I think that's around like 40. I mean, West Ham had put a verbal proposal in for McTominay. Don't know how much it is, but reportedly it was about maybe 20, 25, something like that. And that's not what United are looking for. Obviously, like I said, Roma, I can't see them putting in £40 million for him. Maybe because of the European side, United say, you know what, screw it, we'll accept a little bit lower, and then we can bring in another defender. I agree with you, though. I mean, Jose loves McTominay. You could see it working out for him really well. But I still do think, and maybe this is going to be my hill to die on, Marcel, it's about getting the right money for the players, because if we get the money that we're looking for and the money that these players should be valued at, is we can bring in more players and we can bring in another striker, which again, I'm still saying that's what we need to be looking for in this transfer window. Yes, obviously certain players are going to go and you have to replace them. We spoke about centre-back, replace him. Midfielder, you'd replace him. That's how like Amrabat could come in. Todibo could come in. But still, having looked at the preseason, looking at the age of Rasmus Hojlund and just the season moving forward, if we could just have that sort of older, more experienced centre forward that's not going to play every game, but can just back up, Hojlund and Martial whenever he's back, but to have more options in the striking position, that would be the key thing. And I think you get there by getting the right amount of money for the players that you want to sell.
Ivan Toney in January? Or...
Who knows? I mean, come January is going to be fascinating when it comes to Ivan Toney, isn't it? I mean, yeah. I still think that Brentford still want to keep him. They've backed him this whole time. And I think Brentford might just be thinking, look, let's just get through the season to January and then we can really hit on. I mean, they had some good results at the end of last season without him when he was serving the first few games of his ban. But I just don't see, Brentford supporting Ivan Toney for all that time. And then come January, they sell him. Maybe I could see maybe like, let's cash in on him now, and then we can get a striker this summer. I could see them maybe doing that, but I don't. If he doesn't get sold throughout this transfer window, I can't see him then being like, right, we've gone through this whole season without Ivan Toney, and then let's sell him in January. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But there you go, guys. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Another transfer view in the books. What's on tap for the rest of the week? Well, the build-up to the Premier League season begins. Yes, we're going to have press conferences, match previews, plus more transfer views. Tomorrow, Flex and KG show is back from the UV studio, as well as FIFA with Flex and KG. That is also back. People have been asking about that. Tomorrow could be the day, Marcel, that Flagy gets the sack. The last time they played, they were told you're in big, big trouble. And now that big trouble may be coming back to bite them. So there you go. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. You know what to do. As I mentioned, plenty more content on the horizon. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you again very, very soon. Peace.